Knudsen,
What's up,
this
Tursky?
is Two Guys Talking Golf.
What's going on, man? The players. We're ready for the players.
We had a big pre-production meeting for this show today.
Yes. All of what, 7.5
I don't
seconds?
even think
before
it was
we
that
recorded.
long. We got a lot of topics this week. It was fun. Out at Bay Hill, one of my favorite courses actually. I love Riviera and Bay Hill. I think those are probably my top two PGA Tour stops.
Yeah, why was I saying the players? Why am I?
I just breezed right past
my mind.
it. Like, I knew what you meant.
Yeah,
I knew you got confused. I wasn't going to focus on it though.
Yep.
But if you want to stay on that, we can.
No, I don't know why I'm on the Players Week when it's Arnold Palmer. Yeah, all right. Your boy's checked out for the weekend already. So I don't know what's
just
going
to
on.
Address whatever people are going to say in the comments on YouTube. Yes, I am wearing glasses today. Yes, my allergies are bad. I do wear contacts, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. Had to rip the contacts out, so we're going glasses.
I like it, man. It's a smart looking.
I prefer studios to smart, but yeah.
That's right. But I think you look good.
I appreciate that. All right, so Bay Hill this week. What do you think about Bay Hill? You ever played there? You ever been out there?
No. I mean, I love like the Arnold Palmer influence. You know, it's his course, and he's got his office there, and all that. Like, I'm a big fan of Arnold Palmer. I know he was a little before my time, but huge fan. I love all the documentary stuff that was done about him, and he just seems like he was just an amazing guy. So I love all that about it, but I've never been there, never been on site, never seen the course other than TV, just watching it. So unfortunately, kind of a novice.
I have had the pleasure of playing there a couple times. I've never made less than a double bogey on the 18th hole. That hole's absolutely impossible, and so is the course in general. The rough is thick. It plays firm, especially this week. Like, if the wind gets blown at all, I just don't see how these guys break 80. Like, I don't get it. I don't see it out there. I don't see any birdies. A couple of the par fives are gettable, but other than that, pretty incredible that these guys do shoot under par. But historically speaking, it's probably one of the highest winning scores every year. I haven't seen any stats on that, but you know, all the players say how difficult the course is. I know that they kind of rake or mow the rough like into the tee box. So you're always kind of hitting into the grain out of the rough. This is a sneaky little trick right there.
Yeah, and it just gobbles up golf balls. I mean, there's no way to get any distance out of there if you hit it in the rough.
Yeah, but the Arnold Palmer energy is awesome there. Like, everyone's celebrating his life and what he did for the sport, for golf. Yes, I think we all know about that. Arnie's Army, he kind of changed the landscape, but what he also did was change the landscape of marketing and branding for athletes. With the umbrella, with the courses, with the iced tea lemonade. What else has he done? It's like everything across the board. He's kind of dabbled here and there. He's been successful at everything. He's worked with Mark McCormick, I think was his name, that he teamed up with, and kind of they took over the branding merchandise game. I mean, he kind of set the blueprint for what a lot of these guys are doing now with their logos, you know, philanthropic efforts. It's just really cool that everyone kind of gets together this week, celebrates him and his legacy. Like, you know, you got the swag, Odyssey, Callaway, TaylorMade, all them making custom merch for this week. And it's not a major, you know, they're doing it out of respect for Arnie. And what I thought was pretty cool, did you see that Arnold Palmer legacy exhibit in the forums? I did like a huge photo tour. Unfortunately, it was like 190 photos. I'm sorry if it loads slow for everyone. I didn't want to break it up into two parts, though, because I thought it should just all live together. So basically, they set up a temporary exhibit. I think it's called... Let me get exactly what it's called real quick. It's called Sincerely Arnold Palmer, the Latrobe Legacy Campaign. Now, Sincerely Arnold Palmer is actually a brilliant name, because what he would do is send letters to like everyone in the golf world. basically spreading motivation, appreciation, providing inspiration. But he would send these handwritten letters. You know, there's letters that exist to Tiger Woods in like 92. You know, like he was really a fan, or whoever was keeping their eye on the golf world for him, letting him know, like, whatever. He was a fan of golf and a really inspirational guy just to players in the golf world. You know, everyone has an Arnold Palmer story. And not to make it about me, but I do have one of my own.
Ooh,
have I told this story on the show?
I feel like you might have, but, well, you know, it might have been years ago, so please.
I'll keep it as short as I can. So, high school golf, senior year, it's right before, like, the county tournament, which for high school golfers is a pretty big event. I mean, it's not the states or the USAM, but, you know, you want to win the counties. And I'd actually won the year before, so I was defending, but I got diagnosed with mono like 4 days before the event, and I was going through it like bad. I was dead. And I was just praying that the morning that I woke up, I was going to feel okay. I did not feel okay, but I went through with it. I played in the event with mono. Me and this kid, Alex Edford, we would always go back and forth. He was a really good junior golfer, 1 year below me, and we fought it out. And I ended up clipping him by 1 stroke. Sorry, Alex. And I ended up winning this county event, which it's not the biggest event. But Arnold Palmer, for some reason, was giving the trophy to the winner of that event because it was at this like Callaway sponsored course or whatever. And I guess he was launching some sort of new like simulator, or I don't know exactly why he was even presenting this trophy, but he like calls me up to the stage. And the first thing he says to me, he's like, "You look like a human 1-iron," because I was so tall and skinny. I mean, I still am, but even more so back then. So he was a great dude. I got like a signed Arnold Palmer flag for winning the high school county event. It was like so lucky and odd, but the human 1-iron story, I think my mom still tells that story to this day. It's just so funny.
That's
so
awesome.
Funny. But that's who he was. He like had a joke. He made you feel included, like a handshake for everyone. He sends you a letter, like just a really good dude.
Yeah. I mean, just the stories you hear, I mean, from, you know, especially around this time, you know, this tournament, the stories you hear from the media and stuff like that. I mean, like you mentioned letters, like, I mean, he was that guy who didn't he return an autograph to every letter that was sent in or something like that. And like, he even paid the postage if, you know, nobody put return postage. I mean, he was just that guy that knew the fans made the sport. You know, I mean, the sport's great in its own and golf is amazing, but professional golf is made by the fans. And he was probably the best there ever was to interact with fans. And, you know, like you said, everybody's got a story who's ever met him. I unfortunately never did. But it's cool to hear all those things and hear those stories because he sounds like he was just a really, really cool guy.
But yeah, I definitely recommend people going to the forums. It's under... Hold on. I didn't want to get the title wrong, and now I can't find it.
I'm about to say, like, I was looking while like you were telling your story. And
See, this is what happens when you don't have a pre-production meeting.
Okay. Yeah. We come in unprepared. We fly by the seat of our pants, and here we are, searching the internet during a podcast because that's
kind of what we do. I just want to do my proper research. I want to get my facts straight. I don't want to spread misinformation.
Yeah.
And I still can't find it. Hold, please.
Yeah. We're, you know, listen,
okay. It's thank you for trying to stall for me. It's called Inside Arnold Palmer's Arnie's Army Legacy Experience at Bay Hill. It's in the forums, 190 photos. If you click in it and you go through, I tried to take a picture of everything in there. Now, when you walk in, it's like a makeshift tent. It's definitely a temporary thing, but it's at the Lexington Cottage, right off the 18th green at Bay Hill, which, as I learned, the cottage was kind of famous. Arnold Palmer would have like guests and friends over before the trophy ceremony at Bay Hill like on Sunday. So it was kind of like their party house. Like they would go chill at the Lexington Cottage. The winner would finish up on 18. They would watch. They would hang out at the house, and then they would walk over for the trophy presentation, where Arnold Palmer was obviously a centerpiece in that trophy presentation.
That's pretty awesome.
So they made this like tent kind of outside the cottage, and when you walk in, it's like this hallway of 10 by 10 photos from throughout Arnold Palmer's life, starting from when he was a baby, from when his dad put a golf club in his hands for the first time, all sorts of Latrobe, the golf course that he grew up at, where his dad, I believe, owned the course, and he would go out like on the lawnmower and do it all himself, type thing. Like they were real. And I think it was only a 9-hole course. They ended up adding 9 more holes in like 1971, but that's where he was practicing. There was no range. It was just a 9-hole golf course in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. I think those type stories and that type upbringing is why people just loved Arnold Palmer.
Oh yeah,
everyone said same thing. Like he was just like a real person.
Yeah, it's like Lee Trevino the same way. I mean, I think a lot of those old guys. I mean, Lee Trevino grew up with nothing. Taught himself how to play and made it to tour. And I think that's like I said. I mean, there's a lot of golfers who. But I think there's a lot of golfers too now. You don't hear the stories either. There's not as many of those stories out there. But yeah, the regular guy who came from kind of nowhere and just became a professional golfer. That's a pretty cool story because, I mean, it doesn't happen every day. That's for sure.
So you walk down this hallway. It's pictures on each side. They have like some videos playing. Real trip down memory lane. Then you walk in. Now you're in like the actual cottage. Now I didn't really know what they had in there. I wasn't expecting too much just because it was like, a temporary tent. You don't think there's going to be too much in there. I know that they keep his office in Latrobe where he had like his workshop and everything. I think they keep it like the way it was. So I didn't think too much was going to be at Bay Hill, but you walk in, immediately you see his USAM trophy, his personal Masters trophy, his personal cigar holders that you win when you win the Masters, his Cherry Hill US Open jacket, like the original Wheaties box he was on, like one of the first prototypes of the umbrella, like the pullover where he was wearing the old umbrella before it was like rainbow. They had all sorts of photos of him like flying planes and his like personal table that he had in his office where it's like filled with all of his medals from like Augusta and the PGA Championship and all that. Like it was one of the coolest, unexpected exhibits I had ever seen. I was like, oh my God, this is some of the coolest stuff ever. And so you continue through, you like walk throughout, awesome, mind blown. You turn down the hallway, there's 2 simulators set up where you can just hit Arnold Palmer's old clubs that he had stored away. Yeah. You could hit like his driver, his 3-wood, his 2-iron, his 6-iron, his wedges. He had a putter, and they're all custom ground by Arnold Palmer himself. You could see what he was trying to do. Like he was trying to flatten soles. He was trying to work on the front line. He had like a V sole in one of his wedges. Like who knows when he ground that wedge, but it was probably before a V sole was any sort of popular. Like he was a serious tinkerer, fiddler, like borderline engineer. He knew what he wanted. He knew the turf interaction he wanted. He obviously had a certain look he liked to look down at. Just a real like treat that legacy experience was. And I think they're going through the whole weekend with it. So if you happen to be going to the event, I think you can just pop in. You may have to sign up for like being a member of Arnie's Army and, supporting that organization. And then you can go in and you can try out his golf club. It's like incredible.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, he was a collector of golf clubs too. I remember seeing those things of his shop and just having like
tens of thousands
racks and
golf clubs.
Yeah, like right when he passed, I think they showed like all the stuff that he had, and it was just, I mean, he saved like every club he ever like got. So I mean, it's not like they aren't there to. It's not like they're not available to hit, like they don't exist. But that's just really cool that you would be able to hit, like, even if they're clubs that he just, like they're not like major championship winning clubs or anything like that. It's still really cool that you get to hit something that, like you said, he had his hands on, he touched, he used at least for a little bit, whether it was just testing or something. But that's really cool that you actually get to do that, because I would never expect that. I mean, the memorabilia thing for sure.
Yeah, those irons that we talked about, what was it, a couple of weeks ago at Pebble Beach, where they had the display up on the wall, and it's confirmed that he won 14 events with those irons. They're selling for $250,000. The designs of those irons that are confirmed his were very similar to some of the ones that they had at this exhibit. So I think he either played with them in the events, or they were the prototypes to set up the clubs that he eventually played with. But I asked him, I was like, what events did he play with these clubs? Like, do we have any sort of confirmation, whatever? They were like, they are game-used clubs. They're from his stash. They're obviously hand-ground by him. And he played with these clubs. It's just we can't confirm what events he did, because he switched clubs every event. He's got 3,000 clubs ready at his side at all times, like in his garage, and he would change. He would change from round to round to round to round. Like, he probably traveled with multiple bags, like pulling the Hideki Matsuyama move, So it was just.
Well, I remember seeing. I remember, like, even up until he passed, when he still played golf. I mean, they would show he'd have a cart with 2 bags full of clubs, both of them full of clubs, and it was just him. It wasn't like him and his partner. Like, those were both his bags full of stuff, and he was just the ultimate tinker.
Yeah, I don't think he ever stopped that.
Love it.
Throughout his whole career, and probably the more money he made, just the worse it got. Because he was able to buy more, to do more, to have more space, and just really cool. Arnold Palmer, man. What can you say about that guy? He changed golf. I think a lot of the money that's floating around and the TV deals and all that started with him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, especially like you said, the sponsorship stuff. I mean, he was a part of Cadillac and Pennzoil, and I mean, you name it, he had some type of endorsement deal with. I mean, he really brought that to golf. I mean, you give Tiger a lot of credit for where the money is and stuff like that now, but like you said, I mean, what Arnie did back then was
he set
crazy.
The blueprint. Tiger took it to an entire new level, obviously. And he came around at the right time, but Arnold Palmer was really the pioneer of mainstreaming and branding golf.
Yeah.
I'm not dissing Jack Nicklaus, of course. He was more of like the winner. And Arnie was the pioneer of, hey, we're taking golf into the stratosphere. He really blew up the sport. I'm sure that a lot of people in that generation started playing golf just because of Arnie.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay, so Arnold Palmer aside, there was a serious golf tournament about to be played. Me and Greg Moore were out there. He took a million what's in the bags, as always. My favorite being Aaron Baddeley. We got a little update on what Bad was playing. And as I hoped for, he has about 20 clubs in the bag. Have you checked out his setup?
I'm looking at it right now, which is pretty awesome. And I went through a few of these this week as they got uploaded, but it's always tough because, like you said, there's so many. It's tough to go through every album. But scrolling through right now, some interesting. It's a pretty cool. It's a pretty cool setup.
I think he's got five different brands in there, which I always love from the free agents.
Yeah. And one of the clubs, which, I mean, he's got multiple of almost everything, but the thing that jumped out like immediately just scanning through is one of his putters, which was the Odyssey, the Rossi or the Rossi 5K with no weights in the sole anymore. The weights were removed. And it didn't take him out to put light weights in. There's just no weight. So there's 2 holes just in the bottom of this putter.
Why do you think he did that? Do you think it's like a short putter and he just wanted to take weight out of the head?
I mean, you want to take weight out of the head. Typically, the shorter you go, the heavier the head. So, like back in the day, it's a little less now. Yeah, back in the day, it used to be like 35 inches was 330 grams, and then 340 for a 34 inch, and 350 for a 35. Now, every head out there is like 350 to 365 grams, no matter what length you play it at for the most part. But I wonder if he plays it like a little long, and he just wanted a lighter weight. And I wonder what the head weighs without any weights in it.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. What's funny to me is that some of these guys will test simultaneously like a blade and a mallet. Yeah. And he's got putters from 2 different companies. It's just funny to me that it's like you can't decide whether it's blade or mallet. Like we can't even narrow it down to there. We're just going to really test everything at the PGA Tour event. I respect that. I think it's funny though. Some of these guys who switch putters all the time, just the indecision is so real.
Oh yeah, well I mean I get that. Like I mean I look at like I've got a bag that has kind of like my like putter rotation in it, and it's got basically 3 putters that I use the most, and 2 of them are blades, one's a mallet. Like, I mean, it just, I go with whatever's the hot hand.
The hot hand. Feed the hot hand, baby.
Yeah. Feed the hot hand. But the other interesting thing is he's still playing not that he's still playing, but the Callaway Rogue ST Max.
Yeah.
Not the LS, not the Triple Diamond, not one of the No, it's not one of the prototype heads or anything like that. It's just a Max head. That's a 10.5 head set -1. It looks, is it -1 or plus? I can't tell if it's -1 or +1. +1. So it's a 10.5 head +1. So that thing sits a little bit shut probably. And he's playing an 11.5 degree driver with a, Tensei AV raw blue 65 TX. So pretty interesting combo. You don't see a lot on tour. 11.5 degree drivers. They're not super, super common.
It's a bag like that makes me want to send the link to like every amateur golfer that I know. It's like, look, Aaron Baddeley, obviously a ball striker, a gamer. He's playing with a very forgiving driver with a lot of loft on it. He's got 5 different brands in his bag. He's testing putters still. Like, I think he does it a really good way with gear where he's not tied to a brand. He's willing to test everything, and he plays what he needs for him. Now, I know that they all do that. They eventually get into a build that's right for them. But I just like how he goes about it. He fills his bag with the tools that he wants to use to optimize his game. Yeah. And I just think that's what everyone should do. Test everything and figure out what's best and what you like, and kind of have no judgments going in. Don't get tied to one brand. I probably said that a million times on the show, but I just wanted to reiterate. Okay?
Yeah, it's all about works. I mean, he goes from Callaway, TaylorMade fairways, Ping eye blades, Callaway wedges. I mean, he's got a little bit of everything. Got a Cameron in there. I mean, he's got a little bit of everything, which is pretty cool. And I think we're going to see more of that. As there seems to become more and more free agents out there. I mean, it seems like every time you look, somebody's done with somebody else or done with their deal with so and so is done, and they're just kind of doing their own thing. And I think we're going to see more and more where a guy has 3, 4, maybe even 5 brands in the bag because he's going with what works.
I did not want to get into this right now, but it looks like we're going to do it anyway.
All right.
It made me think of it, and here we go. The amount of money that they're now competing for. Why would you have a brand deal? What's the point of the? I'm guessing, but $750,000 or even $1 million for the whole year. Now you're tied into a company. If you can't get out of like the 13 club deal and get in a 9 club or 10 club deal, now you're tied into one brand. And like we were just talking about, that might not be the best way to prepare yourself to have the best clubs in your bag. It's just, what are the chances that each individual club is all made by the same brand? So the money that they're competing for is wild. Now, 78-person fields for the elevated events. 78-person fields, no cut. In 2024, they just announced the new format, the new structure, the new system. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's got their own take. It seems that golf Twitter is saying you guys are complete hypocrites. All you're doing is making a live golf event. All the players are like, it's not remotely the same at all. It's a business. We're trying to support the smaller tournaments that aren't the elevated field events. And then when you get to the elevated events, you're guaranteed to see the top names for 4 days, no cut, and they're going to be competing for the ultimate prize of huge paychecks. What do you think here? Everyone has a different opinion. It seems people are very passionate about it. They do not like no-cut events. I've learned that they don't like no-cut events, or at least they don't like the hypocrisy of like shifting the goalposts. Because before, that was kind of the critique of live. Oh, you're going to do no-cut events? Like, this is just a money grab.
Yeah.
Like, where's the history? Where's the competition? And now here comes the PGA Tour. They change into a structure that, it looks a bit similar. I know the whole thing is more based on meritocracy and, getting the best players in the field more often, giving guys a chance to play into that system. But there are some similarities. So what do you got here, Nuts?
Yeah. I agree. There's definitely some similarities, and I definitely can see where people, can call things out and say, hey, this looks a very much like what your competitor's doing. But also, it's 4 events. What did we used to have 4 WGC events every year, and those were limited fields. Maybe a different format with the match play with one of them, but they were different formats. I don't think if they had, I think maybe 1 or 2 of them didn't have a cut, and they were smaller fields. I get it. It doesn't really bother me. At first I was kind of like, okay, like, why would I care? Maybe we should, instead of 78 guys, should it be a full 125 or, whatever it is. But, if you add the cut back in, because, I would think, like, those guys get more money. It would kind of wash down to the guys even who didn't play well. But really, it's great that the top name's going to be there. But, like, if Rory has a bad weekend, do you really want to go watch Rory shoot +8? Is that really cool? Is that what you want to see? I get that you want him there. I get it. But on Sunday when he's cool? Just like is watching, Justin Thomas, make double bogey on 18 and run out of there so he can get on his plane and go home on Sunday. Like, is that what you want to see? I get it. But no, it doesn't bother me. At the end of the day, the best players are there. You're going to see a great field, and that's what people want to see. And whether it's no cut or not, it doesn't matter because the guys who are at the top of the leaderboard are going to get all the TV time anyway. Yes, will they show Tiger if he's +3 and he's out of the running and, the leaders are -10? Sure, they're still going to show Tiger, and that's great because people want to see him. But, for everybody else, they're not really going to show you anything from them. They're just going to show the guys at the top, and it's going to have the feel of every other tournament until you get to the very end, and that last putt on 18 is worth millions and millions more than it used to be. So it doesn't bother me. It is what it is. I think seeing a few different formats and a few different events anyway in golf is kind of cool. So I'm fine with it. Like I said, it's not going to change my viewing experience. I don't think. It's not going to be less to me.
Yeah, I think it's just like that Friday drama that you kind of miss out on.
Yeah.
I also
That's true.
Just see the cut throughout history as just a gauge of consistency. I thought it was really, this stat of Tiger Woods not missing a cut for 4 years. And just like that running weekly narrative of, oh, this guy missed 3 cuts in a row, he's playing terrible. It kind of just gets rid of that narrative. And then a little bit of Friday drama. I'm probably going to be less enticed to watch on a Friday. And I don't think...
Yeah, I can see that.
I don't think for fans like me who, love the game, really love the sport, and we just want to see good competition, like you said, I don't turn on the TV on Sunday when Rory's +7 to see Rory play a round of golf that he doesn't really care about. He's already out of the event. They're probably really not going to show him that much anyway, because why? I don't want to watch Colin at 6 over, completely out of contention, or even if he's like 7 shots back. I mean, I don't really need to see that shot. Like, his body language, he's way out of it. He knows he's out of it. So from that aspect, all the players seem pretty fired up about this, by the way. Of course, these are all the top guys talking, but they all seem pretty fired up. My thing is, like, as a player, why would you really want to play in no-cut events? There's no, like, real difference. If I'm 12 over through 2 rounds, I'd just as well book a flight and get out of there. The best case scenario, I go super, super low and I kind of backdoor a top 15 finish and I hike my check. But all the guys in the field that we're talking about, they don't care about backdooring a check. They just want to win. So that's kind of where my holdup is. It's just like, why? Why not just have 80 guys in the field, cut it down to 55 after the first couple of rounds just to keep people engaged and kick a couple people out? I guess they just want that guaranteed money. Like, if I tee it up, I'm not going to miss a cut. I'm not going to go home empty-handed. There's a lot of money, and we're reducing the field, so there's more money for everyone. Like, yeah, that kind of sounds like a money grab. But to like Rory's point and Max Homa, it's also, you're guaranteed to get all the guys on Sunday. So it might just set up for more of those, like, Tiger versus Phil, Scotty versus Rahm, like all the storylines historically that golf fans do like. They want to see top players go head-to-head week in, week out. And then for the sponsor side of things, which is really what this is probably all about, you can just guarantee, like, MasterCard is the sponsor this week. Now, say it's not an elevated event, you can't guarantee anyone's going to be there. But if you're a sponsor now in 2 years of Bay Hill and it's an elevated event, you're guaranteed that the top 78 guys are likely going to be there, and you're going to get them for 4 rounds of TV coverage. It probably helps ticket sales on the weekend, viewership numbers in some way, shape, or form. So from the business aspect of it and, like, the health of the tour going forward, I think it's super helpful because you also bring – I mean, we saw it last week with the Honda. Like, the field is super weak. And it's hard to get guys to go play in an event like that if the elevated events have 155 guys in the field. It's like, why would I play at the Honda when I can just play at Bay Hill? But now you can't get into Bay Hill if you're, 98 on the money list. So now you have to go play Honda. So it really helps them sell that event to sponsors because, maybe you're not getting the top 78 guys, but you're still at least getting, like, that mid-tier level guy. So, there's a lot of moving parts. It's going to hurt. It probably wasn't a decision that they took lightly. They probably thought about everything. No. And they're like, this is about right. We're going to get chewed on golf Twitter for, like, the perceived hypocrisy. We'll let that die down because no one's going to care in a month anyway. That's how I'm seeing this whole thing. Well,
and honestly, I mean, you could have – what it's going to kill is the tournament, right? It's just like the majors, right? Like, the tournament before and the tournament after are typically tough because the biggest names go play. Or, they're getting ready for whichever major it is, and the warm-up tournament before is usually skipped, and then you play the major, and then a lot of them skip the next week. And it's just, the elevated events are going to create a little bit more of that, unfortunately. But they could have done it with still making a cut and then just said, hey, if you miss the cut, you still get $25,000 or whatever, 50 grand, and you go home, but hey, here's your 25 grand, covers your expenses for the week.
Cut and just under the table, you get, like, an appearance fee if you miss everybody gets 25 grand, or whatever the number is. Everybody gets their 15 grand, 25 grand, and if you miss the cut, hey, you still got paid, you covered your expenses, and if you make the cut, hey, you're gonna make some money. I mean, I do think it kind of increases the drama at the other events too. I just thought of this because they're probably throughout that coverage they're going to be blowing up the fact that like, oh, he needs this putt, he needs to go birdie to qualify
to get in
the next elevated event. So it brings that level of drama there, which is actually really smart. Now that I'm talking this out and thinking through it, I think I support what's going on. I do think it's healthier for, in general, all the events, and then for the top guys, you have more of like a defined season. Like these are the big events. It's like it's more like the NFL now almost, where it's like, okay, we know what 17 games are going to be played. We can start looking at the schedule. Whereas now it's like, all right, who's going to play here? Who's going to play here? Who's going to play here? Now you at least know. And then at the other events, there's a little bit more drama with them trying to qualify. And some of those guys will really want to get in those fields because it is guaranteed money. It's like, this is the promised land. All these elevated events are now where you need and want to be if you want to cash huge paychecks. Now, they're still going to be playing for $1 million checks at the other events. Yeah. But it's not going to be as big as the 3.2 mil or whatever it is now for the elevated events. So, I don't know. I mean, Liv came in, they disrupted completely. And ultimately, I think it pushed the PGA Tour to innovate, to make the players happy. And they all call it, let's create a better product. But that is kind of what it is. They're trying to make more compelling TV that makes more sense to the fans, that's a bit more simplified for sponsor investment. And ultimately, I do think the fan kind of wins here, because now we're going to get a bunch of events where all the top guys are guaranteed to be there. And they want to be there now because the money's good and the competition, these are all the top guys. So you know who you got to beat.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like you said, I mean, hey, these events on the calendar are the ones the big guys will be at. Those are the ones you're going to watch. And the rest will be, will hit or miss. I mean, there's still going to be some of those events that, but there'll still be the events like the hometown here, Detroit Rockets Mortgage. Like, there's, like, I think, is Ricky still with them? Like, Ricky's probably gonna have to play it because he's a Quicken Loans guy, and not Bryson anymore. But those type of things are gonna happen where Citibank, or Citibank's not a sponsor. It's like JT and Citibank, but that's gone. But there's a few tournaments where like guys are gonna have to play because sponsor things. But other than that, the elevated events is where it's gonna be, and those are the ones that are gonna be watched. So. It'll be interesting to see, like you said, what's going to kind of play out, and then also how they kind of revise it for next year. Because I mean, I know there's a couple events on the list that are designated events that have now that I think are only for this year. Next year they'll kind of evaluate, see if they will be again. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what it evolves to in year two.
Are they going on like a system where Detroit Golf Club will eventually host a elevated event? Like, will the Rocket Mortgage, 6 years down the line, is it a rotating thing? That I'm not sure about. If it's the same events year after year, I would like to see a little bit of a switch up. So I hope that they're thinking about that.
I would think that you might get like maybe 2 of the slots or 3 of the slots or something that rotates through. I don't think like the Rocket is ever going to be a big enough one where there'll be, an elevated event. But you're right. I mean, I think the Bay Hills, the Waste Managements, those ones are always going to be big. You can't take those away. Those are going to be the big ones. They're big tournaments anyway. But it would be good to see a few rotate, throughout some years, just like, majors, and, you get your fingers crossed that, hopefully your hometown tournament gets picked that year. But, it'll be, like I said, I'm not counting on the Detroit one to be big anytime soon.
I like that golf course. I like that event. It's a fun event.
I tell you what, I mean, it's fun because it's a hometown event. I love a hometown event. I like going. And I played the course. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty fun.
That's not good when you say, how was that golf course? Well, it was pretty interesting. That's like, okay, I hated it.
I mean, no, not at all. Actually, it's just one of those, like, why they shoot 24 under every year.
Was it kind of easy?
Like, you get it. I think I shot 83. And now, granted, it wasn't the tips or anything like that. They were still putting up all the grandstands, and they wouldn't let us go back to the tees.
Okay.
but yeah, we played it, and I think like I played really well, and like I was like, this is like I was looking at drives, like I hit a good drive, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I got like 7-iron into this green, and I'd look back at like where the tee box is, and I'm like, yeah, they're only moving like 30 yards behind where we hit, like they're hitting like 3-wood wedge into this green, no problem. Yeah. So I was like, this
they
is
can't lengthen that
tear
course,
apart
though.
this.
It's pretty
no,
it's like embedded into that neighborhood, right?
Yeah, you'd have to buy there's too many houses, and it's actually in Detroit, so there's just nowhere. And now everything like before that tournament came into town, there were probably some places that you could probably buy and make some room, some homes you could probably remove, and they were probably in rough shape. But now that the tournament's been there a few years, all those places have been built up, and like it's getting way nicer around there. So it is what it is.
All right, let's get into some gear from the tour.
All right, I like it.
Not a ton of topics, but a couple interesting ones. Xander Schauffele.
Yep.
Pretty cool little hybrid type design with this putter between the two previous putters that he was playing. So from 2020 to 2022, let's call it, he was playing that red Odyssey O-Works number 7 CH.
Yep.
Super red. Definitely red. And he caught some wins. He made a lot of money with that putter. Come 2023, I don't know exactly when he switched to that XS Proto Toulon design, but his original red O-Works putter, it had the white hot insert on the face. Then he switches in 2023 or late 2022 to that Odyssey Toulon. I mean, it looks like a number 7, but it's called the XS Proto. It has a milled face. It has that diamond milled Toulon face, so he went away from the insert. This week, we see him on the putting green, and he's back to a red Odyssey putter. And we're like, okay, I guess he got rid of the XS Proto. Turns out, it is not the old red Odyssey that he was playing before. It's an all-new one. So they recrafted the putter. It's basically the same head shape. So nothing really changed like structurally, but instead of the white hot insert now in this red Odyssey putter, now he has a milled face, like with the XS Proto, except this one's also painted red. So I think he did like the feel of the face on the XS Proto. It's a little firmer than the insert that he was playing before, but he ain't like the silver. He wanted the red back. So he got himself the red back. They put like a custom Odyssey Toulon design Las Vegas sole plate in there with some custom red screws. Like, it looks like a pretty cool putter.
Yep.
And Xander seemed really happy with it. The face is two-tone, even though it's milled. Like the color, he's got red up top, and then it's really black on the face. But when you're looking down at it from a dress, you don't see the black face.
Oh, you don't see it?
You just see like the red for the most part, and I think that's probably what he wanted. Obviously, it's a prototype made just for him. He got whatever the heck he wanted, and he was fired up. We talked to him. We actually have a video with him explaining the putter. That's on Golf WRX Instagram. It's also over on PGAtour.com. So check out that video. But yeah, what did you think about the putter?
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing the first one, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. He went to the Toulon, and Toulon's got their diamond mill, and it looks like it's the new. So there's two versions. Well, I wouldn't say there's two versions. There was the older diamond mill that was a little firmer, and then they made, I think it was for 2022. They kind of updated it slightly, and they put like really kind of micro milling into the already diamond mill, and it softened it up just a little bit. It was still no insert, whatever, but just softened it up a touch. And it looks like both the old silver one, the XS Proto, had that face. And then this new one, it looks to have it as well. And like you said, it's pretty interesting. They painted the face black, but the red just does come over the top line and takes up like the half row of diamonds on the top. So like you said, you don't see much of the black face, if anything, from a dress. But they kind of hide it that way by painting over into the face. But it looks really good. Like the sole plate, yeah, it looks almost like it's off a retail putter, just the standard Las Vegas. It's just done in black, and like you said, it's got the red screws and some like white or silver paint fill. I think it looks really solid. I'm not a big fan of the red personally, but I think it's a great looking putter, and it, like you said, it's something he's comfortable with. He putted with for a long time, and the Toulon stuff, if you've never tried one, I mean, they're a really good milled putter. Like they got a good feel to them.
Okay, Sam Burns. So he's gone through 2023 so far. I don't know exactly how many events he's played. I think he's played in 4. He has not switched into the new paradigm. Everyone is switching into the paradigm. They're all saying the same thing. It's like the dispersion's better. It sounds and feels better, so I switched into it. Like pretty simple stuff. It's no secret why these guys are switching. Sam Burns had not switched though. This week, that changed. So we caught up with Sam to check out his driver build. We talked to him a bit about why he switched. So he changed into a triple diamond S. Now the S, it doesn't stand for Shuffle. I think it stands for small. But either way, 420 cc's, definitely super compact head. He made like a slight loft adjustment, and then he also tipped the shaft. And he's got the Ventus 7 TX in there, 420 cc head. Like, this is a weapon, man. I was kind of scared touching that thing. It's like I would hit this so far right because I couldn't release it probably, but like fade bias, low spin head, super compact. That shaft is no joke. He hits it a ton. He's one of those no joke distance guys. I think he's 16. But he was like 128, I think, in driving accuracy, not the straightest driver. And what he was saying is that the paradigm head just tightens that dispersion down range. He was like, it's the same starting line. It's just when I curve it, it doesn't spin as much to the left or to the right. So when I hit that, cut and I overcut it, he thinks the driver's helping him keep it within the tighter window. And as someone who basically doesn't hit any fairways, he definitely needs something more accurate. And like he said, he was like, I don't change drivers for more distance. Like, we hit it playing far. I'm just looking to tighten up the dispersion. So I thought that was pretty interesting. He was pretty honest about why he switched. Probably took him a little bit to get that head dialed because he has a 14-gram weight in the back and then a 12-gram weight in the front weight port. Isn't that doesn't that make it a really heavy head?
It's a 12 and a 10 on there, but it depends because now it's a totally different head, compared to the stock one,
that's true.
Where it's only 420 cc's. So, but definitely, I mean, it's got to be super low spin. Yeah. I mean, the CG's now just pushed even more forward. Now he does have the heavier weight in the back, but again, 2 grams shifted compared to the
2 grams can be a lot.
It can. But, I mean, it's got to be uber low spin. It does look, from a dress, it's hard to tell how small it looks from the photos. I mean, without seeing it, but I bet it is pretty darn small. The face is pretty deep. So, yeah, I got to think this is a pretty low spin animal. But it looks good. And, the S, I mean, we're starting to see a lot of prototypes from Callaway out on tour when it comes to drivers.
Prototypes. I thought that was the point.
Yeah, I was under the influence, under the understanding early in the year when kind of we found out about Paradigm there might be like one on tour, or something like that. And now we're up to at least like 3.
I guess 4, it is unrealistic like that. For a guy like Burns, if he doesn't want to look down at 450 cc's and he wants something smaller, what are you going to do? You're going to not make him a prototype and just keep him in the Rogue SC?
Yeah, I mean, but it's not cheap to make these. To make this though, I mean, all the tooling, all the machining, all that stuff. Like, as much as this looks like a Paradigm Triple Diamond, it uses none of the same panel. I mean, I'm assuming none of the same panels, none of the same.
So it's
pieces
all different tooling.
Are there?
That would be expensive. I mean, drivers aren't cheap to make.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the back plate where the weight goes in, maybe they that carries over, but it's going to have a different crown, different sole. Potentially even different face, depending on what the design is. So, I mean, that's not cheap to do. So, But and also interesting, it's a 9. So the head's the loft is listed at 9.0 with a plus. So I wonder what that means.
I don't know exactly what that means either, but I was talking to Johnny Wonder. He said they had to adjust the loft of the head to match 10.5, but he did keep it at 10.5, which I think was his previous build. So they were basically just trying to match the loft to that. They just had to adjust it and then obviously tip the shaft. I think they were going back and forth for a little bit on trying to get the build exactly right. And I think that was kind of the whole up switching. I just don't think he was finding exactly the head shape performance he wanted. And I think finally tipping that shaft probably took him over the edge, which is why he switched this week. That's not exactly what he said. I'm speculating, but I think I'm on there.
And he's got a Ventus Blue 7TX tipped an inch, which the 7TX is much different than a Ventus Blue 7X, and then tipped. So, yeah, he's bringing some heat. But interesting to see that going that small. I mean, I know the Ping G430 LSTs, 450 or 440 cc's. I mean, it's a little bit smaller. So we've seen a little bit of smaller drivers, but this is, that's the size. It's pretty small compared to anything else. And no, you're probably not going to see it at retail. So if you're looking for to get your hands on one, probably going to be pretty difficult.
I mean, I don't want to put it past Callaway to do some sort of like early summer limited release. I don't want to put that past them, but I think you're right. I don't think this is ever going to see the light of day. I don't think anyone's going to be able to buy that.
Yeah, you're going to have to like search eBay for the guy who, swiped one out of somebody's bag or whatever to snag one up and pay probably a pretty hefty premium. You're probably going to literally have
to get Sam Burns backup. Because I don't think I haven't seen that one out there in anyone else's bag. I don't know if you see anything different, but I don't recall seeing that in anyone else's bag. So that literally might be the case.
No. Yeah, they may only have a couple of them for him, and maybe a couple different lofts or something just as he was testing and putting it together. But there probably ain't too many of those around.
I'm not going to lie. I just looked at the leaderboard. It's not going great for him this week so far. But he's just not that accurate of a driver. No offense. It's just like kind of his weak point with the driver at least. And if you're not driving it well at Bay Hill, you're going to get torched. The rough is just, it's deep. It grows into you. The greens are firm. Some of them are elevated. Like you just can't even put the ball in the green.
No,
I'm not talking any noise about Bay Hill. Like I'm not saying it's too hard. It's beautiful, but it is difficult. Anyway, moving on. Just a couple more quick topics, really. Let me just bring up this. Patrick Cantlay had a great answer to one of my questions in the press conference. He's not always the easiest to lock down for like a one-on-one interview, so the press conference is a good place to get Cantlay talking because he is a really intelligent guy. Like, he also is low-key a gearhead. I know he doesn't like changing, but he's really smart about what he uses, why, and when he tests something, like, he's intentional with what he's got going on. So I just wanted to read this quote real quick. Now, I asked, he's obviously an equipment free agent. I've also been hearing that he's been doing all sorts of shaft testing. I don't think he's been doing too much head testing. We did see him testing out a Ping driver at some point, but he hasn't switched into that yet, so no news there. But I asked him, you're obviously an equipment free agent. How's it going? Like, what's the update? Have you switched anything? How are you enjoying the testing process? So I'll just read it all the way through, then you can provide any thoughts. He says, I've done a little testing. In general, I'm not a big tester, but if something's better or potentially better, I'm now in a position where I can go out and put that in right away. That's exciting. I really have only done some shaft changes this year. I experimented with some stuff in the off season, and then at the beginning of this year, I thought maybe going heavier and everything would help me hit it a little straighter. I've been swinging the golf club just a little bit faster lately, and that's by design. I think it's important to try and hit it farther these days. It's just the simplest, fastest way to get a little bit better. So I noticed that the club or the shaft started to feel a little weak. So I went to try and find the right nudge into what stiffer was, like what that meant for him. I tried to go heavier with everything from DG 120s to X 100s, and then just 10 grams heavier in the same wood shafts. The heavy change was really difficult for me to have similar feels. So what I ended up doing was going back to the old weights, same shaft, tipping the wood shafts, and then hard stepping the iron shafts. That's made a big difference in straightening out the ball flight, feeling I don't have to guard against too big of a draw, and it's just been much easier than going heavy as far as the feels go. So he wanted something stiffer. He tries going heavier. He's just trying to figure out what that means and how to do it. Ends up tipping, hard stepping. I thought it was a pretty cool way to go about this. Like, he did some serious experimentation. Like, he put it through the paces. He was trying everything and eventually got to a place where it really makes sense what he did. You know, I think hard stepping, and if you want to explain what hard stepping is real quick, but I think hard stepping was probably the way to go, just based on what it sounds like he did. And yeah, he didn't like the heavier, but hard stepping is perfect.
Yeah.
That's
a
great solution.
Yeah, and for those guys, weight is for us, weight plays a role in how we swing the club. And for those guys, it's even more. They're just more sensitive to any change in the club. But yeah, hard stepping, you basically take, you take your 7-iron shaft and you basically move it into your 6-iron head. And you do that throughout the whole set. So you're basically taking, the whole shaft set, the 5, the 6, and you're just moving them up into one. And what that does is it makes the shafts play about a third of a flex stiffer. So, if you're playing a stiff shaft, it's going to basically be a stiff and 1/3. It's like 1/3 more stiffness, but the profile of the shaft stays the same. The launch, all that pretty much stay the same. You may see a slight drop in launch and spin or something like that, but it's basically moving the set up. And then the opposite, soft stepping, you can do the exact opposite of, move the shafts down. So you take that 7-iron shaft, put it in the 8-iron, plays about a third of a flex softer. So you can really kind of dial in the flex. And if he's got a little more speed, moving up to a heavier, stiffer shaft, whatever, may be too big of a change, where just hard stepping just gives that little bit of extra stability to him that he's looking for.
I also think it's kind of just a cool thing to do. She's like, yeah, I got my iron shafts hard stepped. It's no big deal. I'm just really precise.
I've done it. It's not hard to do. Even with if you do taper tip shafts, which like Cantlay plays forged, I think he plays like MBs or MBs or CBs from Titleist. They're taper tip, meaning that the shafts have a little taper at the end of them, so you can't really tip on, cut the tips and tip them. So it's an easy way to just do it. I've done it before too, and it's interesting. It's depending on the shaft, you can sometimes tell a little difference there between a hard stepped and a standard shaft when you do it.
I knew you were kind of going to get fired up with Cantlay's answer there. Okay, we're down to one last topic, and the topic is just a question: is a new Callaway wedge on the way? Because we have some photos of a new prototype. Unfortunately, you can't see anything because there's lead tape caked on the back of it. I don't even know exactly where Greg got this photo from, but obviously there's a new Callaway prototype wedge. It does have 4 back ports, and other than that, I can't see a dang thing back there. So we have no clue on name, nomenclature. I love saying the word nomenclature. Yeah.
Nomenclature? Yeah, great word.
But I don't know what's going on here. The photo, I'm going to do a little self-plug real quick. We got the tour report on golfwrex.com. If you go to golfwrex.com, click on the tour report, and you scroll down all the way to the bottom. Greg got some photos of this new Callaway prototype wedge. That's all I got on it. Unfortunately, we only have photos.
The only thing on that I can kind of take away from it, it definitely has some type of sole grind. The whole, because the wedge is kind of like an antique blackish bronze.
Every wedge has a sole grind.
Well, yeah, but so this one looks like it's been hand ground.
I know exactly what you mean.
After production. But it looks like it's had the sole grind. It's like the bottom is all silver and the rest of the wedge is kind of a dark finish. They've got the 4 weight ports, and it looks like the heel weight port is kind of the largest. It kind of fills the space the most. And if you look out in the toe, the 2 out in the toe seem to be recessed more into the wedge. Makes me think that there's a little more weight, maybe further into the heel on it for some reason.
But it makes it right there. Now that I zoom in on it, it does look like some sort of progressive sizing or something.
Yeah, it looks like the weights are different, and then also it's got a decent amount of offset for a 60-degree wedge. If you look at the added dress photo, it does have some offset to it, which some tour players really like. I mean, some tour players, especially in their lob wedge, like a little bit of offset. But the overall shape looks pretty traditional. It's pretty Callaway. And like I said, it's just got that custom hand-ground sole. And then also in the very top, you can see there's like a little indention right at the very top. It's under the lead tape. You can see there's a little bit of a kind of a recessed mark that I'm assuming would be kind of the name of the wedge or whatever they've got. It would probably go there. But other than that, you really can't tell much because it's covered with lead tape and that's about it. It looks like I said, it looks pretty traditional, looks pretty Callaway. If you don't mind a little bit of offset on your wedges, you'll probably like the shape.
I completely lost connection to you there for like 10 seconds. I'm sure whatever you said was absolute gold and right on point. And I agree with everything you said in that 10 seconds.
Hey, thank you.
No, but this makes me just want to peel that lead tape away so bad. I mean, what do we got going on in there? But so we end with a question: is a new Callaway wedge on the way? My guess, it's something's coming soon, but it's obviously still in the prototype stage, so you never really know. Yeah,
because I'm trying to think, when was the last Jaws? Because the wedges last a little. Like they do wedges like every 2 years, I think, but they usually have. They've recently had two wedges. They've got the full face and then the standard. Like the full face grooves, the Jaws full face, and then they've got or Jaws raw. I bet there. I mean, we haven't seen a new Apex. We haven't seen a new Apex Pro. We didn't see any of those kind of forged higher end models this year, like we kind of thought we would. Those seem to be running at least for a while. I mean, I'm going to assume if they didn't replace them now, we're probably not going to see a replacement until maybe fall. And again, this is all I have no clue. Nobody from Callaway's told me a thing. So maybe, we're going to see something later in the year with new wedges as well. But I think you're right. I think we will see something probably before 2024.
I
is
hope
my
so.
guess.
Don't make me wait that long. Well, Knudsen, we are to the hour mark already. I don't know how that happened so quick. I guess because we had a bunch of topics jammed in here, a lot going on. But that takes us to the end. Two guys talking golf from Bay Hill. I'm gonna throw in one more topic to you, only because I thought it was really interesting. I am not familiar with the player himself, but Justin Lowers and his putter. I saw that. I did see that. The one off, the complete one.
Really, it's like So if you're familiar with the Toulon Las Vegas, which we just talked about with Xander, it's the number 7, the Odyssey number 7. It's that style, and it kind of comes out to a point, and then it goes to two fangs. And it's like they took a saw and just cut the toe and the heel points off. So it's just,
and you can tell that's what they did because you can look at the Toulon Garage logo and the Las Vegas logo, and they just get straight up cut off. Like those weren't stamped after the structure of the head was made. I think they either ground it or, like you said, just completely sawed it off.
It was off.
Wild putter.
And really,
I forgot about this.
But the only thing I don't get though is what did they do to get the weight back up? Because I mean they've got to.
There's a
sole plate. Yep. But that would, if you made that solid steel, whatever, and tried to add the weight back, it would really raise kind of the center of gravity a little bit. And it would also add a lot of weight into the heel of the putter.
You know what? That's a good question. How did they get the weight back up? That had to have been a ton of weight taken off.
I wonder if under that plate, because on those Toulons there's a plate that unscrews. That is a weight. In the retail models, the weight itself, there's a little rectangular plate. You could buy different weights of that. They had like aluminum ones, steel ones, whatever. I wonder if you pop that plate off, if there's like two huge like tungsten slugs in there that are like set into the head, and then they just cover it with that plate.
You've officially piqued my interest. I'm surprised the sole isn't completely caked in lead tape. Now you bring it up,
yeah,
that is shocking. But it's one of the coolest little putters I've seen in a while with the Toulon just like kind of half chopped off.
Yeah,
you don't see this.
The little loss.
You don't see this type of stuff.
No. And I'll tell you what, from address, it actually doesn't look that bad. Like I kind of thought it would look really janky, whatever. It looks actually pretty good from address. I don't mind it.
It's way too straight for me. Like the immediate top and bottom, like close to the face. You could just like kind of tell it wasn't a production CNC milled precise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. For me, I'm not a mallet guy, and this isn't really my type head shape. And listen, I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't look great. I just think it's super cool. Like I love it, and for guys like you, and obviously for him, if that's what you're looking for, like it does have. It probably achieves exactly what he wanted to achieve by reducing whatever angles are out there so he could focus his eye properly. It looks like it's very parallel, so it helps with alignment and all that.
Yep. It's interesting.
That's a unique one. Really cool. I'm happy you brought that up because I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Greg told these were Greg's photos. I didn't see the putter, but he drew my attention to it. And I appreciate you mentioning that because that is really cool. I wonder who did that. I got to figure it out.
Yeah. Like what guy was just like, they handed him the putter and like, hey, cut the sides off. He's like,
no, what? Literally take a saw.
Yeah, just cut the sides.
Entire sides off. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yes, do it.
Just make it straight. Okay.
I love it. That's a real prototype right there. That's like an old school prototype.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to talk to Joe Toulon. See what he did on that.
Yeah,
he pulled some magic out of his hat.
Yeah. That one. So yeah, that was the lesson because I saw that and I was like, oh man, as a number 7 guy, I was just like, that's a crazy piece.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to get your hands on that one, but you can buy the retail head and just try to replicate it. You got a saw? You got a saw in that workshop over there, Nuts?
Yeah, I got a saw. I can just by hand do it. It'll probably look fine.
Just get the sandpaper out.
Yeah, just grind it off. It'll be no big deal.
All right. So that was 2 guys talking golf from Bay Hill. Obviously, on to the players next week. Big event. Who's your pick?
That's right. I mean, man, right now it is so hard to pick against Rahm. The guy's just absolutely killing it right now. But I'm going to go Rahm. I know it's such a cop-out play, but God, the guy is just playing stupid good golf right now. I mean, it's like right now, who could beat him?
I'm going to ride with the gearheads on this one. Patrick Cantlay proved his worth. He was awarded 50 Golf to Barracks gearhead points this week. So we're going with Cantlay. He seems comfortable with where he's at in the experimentation process. He's also extremely good at golf. Very good at golf.
So I like Cantlay. He's a good player.
Yeah, so the gearheads are riding with Patrick Cantlay this week. And we'll see you at the players. I'm very fired up. It's always cool to go to TPC Sawgrass. Talk about this stretch. Bay Hill, Sawgrass, back to back. Good luck out there. Boys.
Sweet.
Better you than me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week on 2 Guys Talking Golf. Knudsen, as always, it's been a pleasure. Fans, thank you for listening. Haters, you can keep listening too. All right. See you guys. Peace.